She has helped me in ministry so much, and sometimes we take that for granted. I've been here many times, as been said. Camp manager, representative, fill-in speaker, revival speaker. Now I'm here to fill in, but also to remind you about a happening that's coming up in just a few months. And it is down in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. It is called the Winter Worship and Workshop. And we hope that some of you, I know some of you come on a regular basis. And we just want to invite you, if you're not familiar with that, it is with Barnabas Ministry out of Gallipolis, Ohio. Matter of fact, I saw Denny Coburn last night. So be in prayer for he and Shirley. But it's just an opportunity for us to get together. It's a great time, a great format. We have worship in the morning, shop all afternoon, sleep all afternoon, do whatever you want to all afternoon, and then in the evening we come back together for more worship. So if you need any information on that, just let me know. I'm glad to share that with you. So keep going. That's the second week of February. I wrote just the other day, writing an email to someone, I cannot believe 5 months of 2019 is gone. Where in the world is our time flying by? Not too. But it is. It's what it is, and we know that each day we have a requirement. That is to be faithful to God. Amen. And so I hope that that's your main focus this morning. You're here to just strengthen your relationship with God. We sometimes refer to the activities of what we're doing here this morning as coming to church. I stopped using that term because I don't come to church, I come to worship. And I hope that that's what you do. You come not just to be here and kind of go through motions, but every time you come together, you come for one major focus, and that is to help each other and to encourage and to be drawn closer together. And so that's our emphasis this morning. What I really want to talk to you about is we're going to be looking at the entire book of Job. Now you said, oh, we're going to be here all day. No. We are going to pick out some verses, though, because Job is one of those books that we get one thought about. Job had patience. We say it all the time. Well, he got the patience of Job. There's more in that book than just Job's patience. And so as we look at that, I want you to kind of think about this. Are you aggressively, underlined, highlight, circle will be on the test. Are you aggressively pursuing your spiritual life? Are you aggressively pursuing your spiritual life? I want you to gain something from this message that'll make you stop and think about where you are in your relationship with the Lord. Reminded of a man one time, went to the doctor, and the doctor said, I've got some bad news for you. He said, you've only got 6 months to live. He said, well, Doc, what do I do? He said, well, I've got a plan. He said, first thing I want you to do is I want you to go home and I want you to sell everything you got. Give it to whoever, but I also want you to sell everything. Then I want you to move out into the bush where there is no electricity, there is no running water, there's no facilities, and I want you to buy a one-room cabin. Then after that, I want you to marry a lady that has 9 children. The man looked at the doctor and said, is this going to extend my life? He said, no, but it'll be the longest 6 months of your life. Now, I don't want you to have an experience this morning where you just feel the sermon is just on and on and on. I don't want you to have that. I want you to really sit back for just a few moments, and I want you to just allow God to work in your life. Now, I don't know what you've got planned this afternoon. I don't know what you've got planned for lunch. I just want you to give God 30 minutes of just undivided attention. Let Him say something to you through His Word. Maybe it'll be through me. That'll be great. I love being a messenger, but I just want you to listen to God as He spoke to Job. I want you to just allow Him to have the Spirit just to fill you. We talk about the Spirit, but sometimes we just grieve Him so much we don't even know He's around. And so I want you to just think conclusions. If you are, we probably are more dead than we are alive. Again, we go through motions. Now, I know you all are in the process of trying to find a new minister. And I know from experience and having revival speakers and being a revival speaker and working with Barnabas and going to the winter workshop, here is a statement that I hear a lot. Well, how did you like the preacher? Doesn't matter whether you like him or not. What did he say? What did the man say? Was he biblically sound, or did he just tell a lot of stories? I'm reading now more and more in my progress of sermonizing and all that. People are saying, we need to tell a lot of personal stories. Well, I get so tired of personal stories, I don't get anything out of the sermon. And if it's a personal story, then that's all I'm doing is telling you about me. I'm not here to co-host with Jesus this morning. I'm not here to be part of or on the same level. I'm here to proclaim a message. Now, everybody's going to have a different delivery. Everybody's going to be taught different. I remember in Bible college, Andy Dale told us, you go out, you do this, you do that. And so, kind of done that, you know. You can't have a sermon unless you have 3 points. Well, yeah, you can. It's just that was his preference. And so we just kind of look at ourselves. We know sermons are not to be analyzed. See, we sit around and say, well, now, what did he? Well, I don't know. We're not here to analyze God's Word. I want you to think about it. But we're here to listen and make application. That's why we're here. We're here to make God first and foremost. Matthew 6:33, we can quote that. We learned it in Bible school. We learned it years and years ago. Seek first the kingdom, then why don't we do it? Then why is Jesus second? Why is he third? Why is he someplace way down the list? Oh, we love Jesus. And he's wonderful as long as everything's going well in our life. But let something come along, you're going to find out how strong a Christian is. How strong is your faith? Are we building our faith? Romans 10:17 says we gain faith by listening to the Word. Is our faith stronger now? Can we go through difficult times? Can we know what God is saying? Is He really in our life? Because that's what God wants more than anything. He wants us to be like Him. He wants us to be a follower. 2 Peter, the first chapter, verse 12 says this. In verse number 10, Peter says he's calling us to make sure of our calling. But in verse 12 he says, therefore I will always be ready to remind you of these things. Sometimes we've got to get back to basics. Everybody wants to talk about the second coming. They want to talk about the prophecies. And they want to talk about all of these things. People, we don't even have the basics most of the time. We're just kind of flying here and there, tossing about every wind of doctrine. He said, hey, I want to remind you what you've been taught. I want you to know what's going on. You know that in today's society, a lot of people think that preaching and teaching and morning worship and evening worship is just foolishness. Why in the world why do you have a revival? Why do you go 3 nights to a revival? Why do you go to church Sunday night? I had a young man one time who was a Bible college graduate. His mom called him and said, how are you doing? You go to church tonight? He said, hey, I went to church this morning. Wow. I'm glad. But you know this, and I'm not going to bring up a lot of dirty stuff, but most churches today don't have evening worship. Bible school is almost a thing of the past. Midweek Bible study is no longer in existence. Why? Because we don't have time for that. We know what Hebrews 10:25 says, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together. And I am guilty. I use that verse to just kind of make people to stop and think about, you need to be in church. But you know what that verse really says? He says, I want you to be in the assembly to encourage each other. So when you came this morning, when you got up and your feet hit the floor, and were you thinking about going to worship to encourage? I'm going to be sitting there, I'm going to have a smile on my face. I'm going to love God. God's going to be my rejoicing agent. I am just going to have a great time. Or did you come and say, can't wait till this is over. I can go home, we're going to fix lunch. You know, the biggest decision after worship is where we're going to eat. And somebody said one time, he's going to start a restaurant. He's going to put the name on it. It's going to be, I don't care. Where do you want to eat? I don't care. Okay, that's where we're going. But why are we here? Why are you sitting in this facility right now? Well, because it's Sunday and I'm supposed to be in church. If that's your attitude, why you missed the mark? We're here because God wants us to be here. Why would you come back tonight? Because it's where God's people's going to be. I believe this. The elderships of the local church, if they see it necessary, and deem it necessary, to have evening worship, that's where we're going to be. They're the shepherds of the flock. They're saying this is going to help feed the sheep. This is how people are to grow. This is where we're going to encourage one another. This is where we can share and pray and be part of each other's life. And so that's why we come on Sunday night. And so we know all that's going on, but you're going to have to ask yourself, do I just come to be entertained? Am I looking to be entertained? I want to sing the songs I want to sing. I want to read the scriptures I want to read. And if they don't, then I'm going to sit around, big long face. I'm just going to say, why no? Because it's not about you. It's about glorifying God, bringing grace to Him. We have to aggressively pursue our spiritual life. See, most Christians today are on cruise control. Now, you might like cruise control, and you may not. In your car, you got a little button, you can set it, and it takes care of a lot of your driving. Now, before long, you won't even have to go anywhere, you just send your car. But now we have cruise control. A lot of Christians are on cruise control, because when you're on cruise control, you don't have to do a lot. I've already done my time. You know, I've heard this before. I've already served. It's somebody else's turn now. No, it's not. I think the time we need to stop ministry and stop ministering is when we take our last breath. We are servants until we die. Revelation 2:10 says, be faithful until death. Then I'll give you a crown of life. Of course, the degree and the whole subject of faithfulness is so distorted anymore because if you read statistics will tell you that if a person attends worship 1 out of 4 Sundays a month, they're considered an active member. 1 out of 4. Try that at work. I came one day. Now, where's my check? But we kind of twist that into the spiritual level, and we think, what's the big deal? The big deal is, where is God in our life? What is that? We kind of get on cruise control. Or maybe we have a lot of Christians today who are in the time card or punch card system. I came to church, punch. I sat in the pew, punch. I listened to the sermon, punch. I took the Lord's Supper, punch. I gave money, punch. I'm done. See you next week. And then you'll hear this also. See you next week. Wait, I don't know if I'm going to be busy next week or not. Do you get up on Sunday morning and think, am I really going to church today? See, I remember as a child, and some of you do too, there was no choice. Matter of fact, we got ready for church Saturday night. I had this illustration one time. I was preaching over at Hillsboro, and I said, as a child, I remember taking my Saturday night baths in a number 3 wash tub. And a lady come up afterwards, a young lady, and said, could you tell me what a number 3 wash tub is? I said, sure, sit down. But we did. We took our baths on Saturday night. And we got ready. Somebody said one time if there was more preparation on Saturday night, there'd be more dedication on Sunday morning. We don't prepare to go to worship. And so we have those cruise control people, and we have those people who are just on the punch system. I punched this, and so I should be okay. And I really believe we've got a lot of people today who have just gotten all kind of false hope from the fact that they the obituary every day, and I am amazed that the people they died, went to be with Jesus. I know some of those people. Unless Jesus is in hell, they didn't go see Jesus. And so what are we doing? Are we really serious about our spiritual life? Maybe we have some Snicker bar Christians too, where, just get that craving and they go, and once they're satisfied, they're done. Christians today want a life with Christ. They just don't want a life for Christ. They want to go to heaven. They just don't want to do all the things to get there. And so we have to ask ourselves, am I aggressively pursuing my spiritual life? See, we say what we need in church today is more commitment. We need people to be committed. No, we don't. What we need total surrender. See, you can be committed to the Lions Club, the PTA, the PTO, sports events. You can be committed to work. You can be committed to your wife and your family. But what about surrender? Here's an illustration. You're down at the mall, and somebody walks up to you, and they stick a gun in your stomach and say, I want all your money. Do you say, wait a minute. I'm committed to the Lions Club. No, what you say is, I surrender. I'm not in control here. God, you're in control. I surrender. I totally surrender. I mean, everything I have, I totally surrender to you. I want to aggressively pursue you. I want my life to be stronger. I want to do everything that I can because I have to grow. There is no place in Scripture where it says you get to a certain point and you stop. You have to keep growing every day in your relationship. We need this aggressive. Now, how do I know I'm not being aggressively pursuing my spiritual life? Because worship becomes just dull and boring to you. Now, do you ever get in that situation where you're just sitting there thinking, man, I just don't want to do this? Well, you're on the road to just dying. We have to know that I'm just not impressed with God. I don't see God really working. How can you get up every morning and look out your window and you see the sun rise, if you get up that early, and you see the sun rise and not know that God's not at work? I know maybe I'm funny, maybe you are too, but every time I get in the shower and there's hot water, I just thank God every day. Toothbrush, toothpaste, and those are just trivialities. You bet they are. But I know people in the world don't have them. So, where are you really thinking about your spiritual life? In the book of Job, God gave Satan permission to test Job. In our life, God may, I don't know this for 100% fact, but I know there are times you and I go through testing. You know what it says? Count it all joy when you fall into various trials in your life. Why? Testing your faith. I know a lot of people, I said it earlier in my message, I know a lot of people who tell, I tell you I'm strong, but man, a lot of notice from the doctor come and they fall apart spiritually. Where's God? Why is God doing this now? I don't know. God said, him right here. I haven't moved. God said to Satan, what about my servant Job? Look at Job 1, verse 1. Job 1, verse 1. Now the angels are all coming together, and they're having a meeting, and God's there. But in verse 1 it says, there was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. The man was blameless, upright, fearing God, and turning away from evil. I think a pretty good guy. I think he had everything together. You know the story. I'm not going to know all the details about Job. You know who Job was. You know he was a wealthy man. But God said, hey, I like him. He's blameless. He's righteous. He's fearing God. He turns away from evil. Man, what a great guy he is. Oh, by the way, Job, have you considered him? Some of the people that God allows to be tempted are people that are strong spiritually. But the sad part of this, I'm working on a series dealing with faith. I know of, and you do too, people who were perhaps elders, preachers, people who just You just look at them and, man, just faith is oozing out of them, only to go 10 years and they no longer go to church. They've quit God. They don't have anything to do with any Christian. And you think, what happened? God said, Satan, where have you been? He said, well, I've been down walking around the earth. We know what 1 Peter 5:8 says. Seeking whom he may devour. He said, hey, have you tried Job? I want you to try Job. I want you to look at this man Job, and I want you to see what's going on. Go over to the 2nd chapter, look at verse number 13. You know what happened to Job? He lost everything. And they've been in, now, and his 3 friends have come to help him. And they have spent 7 days and not said anything to each other. Now, I don't believe this was 7 full, complete days sitting in one place doing absolutely nothing. I think the number 7 here is, if you go over to Genesis 50, you're going to find out the time of mourning, the limit time was 7 days. So I think they've come and gone, but for 7 days they've not talked to each other. They've seen each other, they're together, but they've not said anything. And so I think when you see in your life, you're making points. One is, when you're attacked and God allows you to be attacked, when you're attacked, sometimes you just need to get off and be quiet. Have you heard this statement recently? I tell you, I'm so busy. I'm just going here and there, and I've got this and that. And some of you thought being a grandparent was going to be easy. Now you've got 15 grandchildren, you've got to be at every ball game and every recital and every dance rehearsal and everything else that's going on. And you're thinking, where am I going to be tonight? And God forbid you to ever say, you know what, we're not going to make it tonight. We're just going to stay home and rest. Well, you might as well just slap every one of your grandchildren. Sometimes we have to just take inventory. Sit down in a quiet place. For 7 days, they did not say anything. They were just grieving. When was the last time you grieved over the sin of the world that we have today? When was the last time you turned the TV on and you didn't listen more than 5 minutes until you had to turn it off? See, this is a time of mourning. Job is at a time, he's lost 10 children. He's lost every animal he has. He's lost everything. He still has one thing left in his life, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Sometimes we need to listen to Psalm 46:10, where it says, be still and know that I am God. Take some time and just be quiet. I have I don't know if it's a liking or what, but I like to watch people. I guess I got it from my dad. My dad used to go to the mall. He'd tell my mom, say, Mom, sit. Catherine, I'll just be sitting here. You go do your shopping, and I'll still be right here. And he'd sit and watch the people. Have you watched the people? Sometimes we need to just allow God to have our time. And that's what was happening here. For 7 days they sat, and they didn't say anything to anyone. They're just sitting and knowing. And sometimes we have to be silent. So if you're going to aggressively pursue your spiritual life, sometimes you're going to have to get away and just be quiet. By yourself. And let God just kind of fill you up. I think the second thing you need to do is you're going to have to kind of take some inventory about your family. Remember I said Job still had one part of his life? He still had his wife. His wife was one giant trip. You know what his wife said? Job, why don't you just curse God and die? Now, I don't know if he had big insurance or what. I don't know all of that, but that was what she said. Why don't you give up your morality? Is actually what she said. Why don't you just give up on God and just die? Why are you putting yourself through this? Why are you allowing all of this? What is this integrity? Excuse me. Why are these strong morals? Why don't don't you just give them up and die? And I know that sometimes when we have difficulty in our life and we're being tempted and we're trying to aggressively pursue our spiritual life and we're trying to deal with what we have and we're down deeper than we've ever been, sometimes your family is not the best people to talk to. Some people in your life may be more of a deterrent to you spiritually than there'll ever be someone who's trying to concrete your relationship with God. I know people who don't care any more about church than the man in the moon. They don't understand you, but yet you sit and listen to them give us advice about how we ought to deal with our life. You know who we need to talk to? We need to get down on our knees if we still can. I know some people can't anymore, but we need to get down on our knees and we just need to face God and say, God, you help me. Man, every time I turn around and listen to somebody else, and I tell you, I just read this great book. Oh, I tell you, I got it down at the bookstore, and it's just wonderful. I'm reading it. Say, well, what's the last thing you read in Scripture? No, I just got this book up. We got a book. You just got to take time to read it. You got to listen to it. The reason we go looking for authors is because we're trying to find somebody who will side with us. Well, this author said, that's exactly the way I feel. We don't like to be told, hey, what you're doing is totally wrong. Well, I need to spend time with my family because my family deserves it. Your family needs to be in church. Your family needs you to be head of the house. Your family needs to be the wife of a husband who supports each other, and that's what our families need. Our families are being torn apart. Children are running the family now. Grandchildren are running the family now. And we are just allowing it and wondering why our families are just kind of being dissolved. God said, I need for you to listen. I need for you to sit around. Don't listen to your friends either. Job had 3 of them. Guess what? You know what they thought? Job just had such horrible sin in his life. That's the reason God was doing all of this. They didn't listen. They evidently didn't know Job very well. And so we just know that this is what's going on. Friends and family can let us down more than anybody else. If you're going to progressively pursue your spiritual life, you're going to have to walk with God, and you're going to have to look for Him. I know God's everywhere. I know God is everywhere. But I know that we sometimes have to go looking for Him. Turn over to Job 23. Job 23. Now this, like I said, it's a long book, and I would encourage you to read it. But in chapter 23, this is Job now. Job has reached the point. There's some time gone by, we know that. But in Job 23, and you look at verses 3 and 4, and he says this, oh, that I knew where I might find Him. Job said, I always have to find God. Now, he knew where God was. Remember, he said he was a righteous man. He knew God to walk away from evil. He knew a relationship, but he is starting to pull away some. He's trying to say, okay, God, where are you? There is nothing wrong with questioning God. But don't doubt it. When things happen in your life, you may say, God, why? Show me what you want me to see. Lead me in the direction you want me to go. But when you start saying, God, if you're going to keep doing this, I'm just going to walk. I don't like this. See, we like God as long as everything's going good in our life. Let it go bad, we start saying, oh, wait a minute. This isn't what I signed up for. I thought when I became a Christian, everything was going to be better in my life. And I think, again, that's a false assumption that we're letting people have today. God said, I'm going to give you roses. But have you ever gotten a rose? Guess what? Down about an inch from the rose, there's thorns. Is that rose still pretty? Absolutely. But you have to use caution. Job said, if I could just find you. Read on with me. He said, oh, that I knew where I might find Him, that I might come to His seat. I would present my case before Him and fill my mouth with arguments. There's nothing wrong with sitting down with God and saying, God, I want to grow further, but I need your help. I need to know why these things are going on in my life. Deuteronomy 4:29 says, but from there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find him if you search for him with all your heart and all your soul. You got to look for him. You have to look for God on your own, because I can't look for him for you. See, you can come. I was talking to a man last night. I was at a seminar. And I said, how are churches in the area? He is up near the New York border line in Pennsylvania. And I said, how are churches up there? And he said, just horrible. And I said, why? He says, because people don't listen. You know, I didn't do a lot of counseling in my ministry. I did my share of it, but I stopped counseling because I was wasting my time. People come and say, oh, can you help me? I said, okay, here's what I think we need to do in your life. And then they turn right around and go 180 degrees in the other direction. And then again, they say, I don't understand. God said, hey, here it is. Here's what's going on. You've got to look for God. You've got to find God. You've got to stop looking through all the professional people who say they've got all the answers. I believe I know someone who has all the answers. But you've got to listen to them. And sometimes we just need a person in our life like Elihu. Elihu is found in chapters 32 through 37. Elihu is a young man. He's been listening to all this since Job lost everything. He's been right there. He's listened. But he said in chapters 32 to 37, he said, I didn't say anything because I was younger, and I wanted to listen to the aged opinions. I wanted to listen to the wisdom. But you know what Elihu finally said to Job? Job said, the reason you're in the situation you're in is because you've got so much pride. You've got so much pride. Do we deal with pride? Are we proud people? Are we so proud that when God uses us or tests us, we're not willing to say, well, God knows best. I trust God. God's going to get me through this. You know, I hear this, and you do too. People, perhaps in your family, people you work with, and just associates, they'll say, well, I tell you, this is the way it's going to be, because that's the way I am. Well, good luck with your life. But if you're going to aggressively pursue your spiritual life, you're going to put the pride out the door. And you're going to say, God, I'm yours. I'm yours. I want you. I want you to know this. He pointed out in the 33rd chapter, verse 17, he said, Job, it's your pride. You have to deal with your pride. Job said, I'm a righteous man. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm a sinner. Saved by grace. And I deal with sin every day. My sin. See, God has declared war. We don't think about that. Remember back Pearl Harbor? I spoke on this down at the Winter Workshop. In Pearl Harbor, we weren't in war until the Japanese came in and bombed Pearl Harbor. The next day, we were in war. War was declared. I believe God's declared war. And we have to decide if we're going to be in the army. Now, you're going to have to sacrifice if you're going to be a soldier. You're going to have to give up a lot of your own life. But God says, hey, here's the end reward. Oh, I can't wait to get to heaven. See, we talk about heaven. You know what we say about heaven? Oh, streets of gold, gates of pearl. You know what we're thinking about? Oh, boy, it's going to be a rich place up there. You know what I think about? Just standing every day seeing Jesus. That's heaven. Now, I don't know if you're actively pursuing your spiritual life. I don't know if you're praying daily, keeping a journal. If you're seeking God's guidance, if it's an everyday process, or is your spiritual life based on 9:30 to quarter to 12 on Sunday morning? See, if you're basing your whole relationship with God on an hour and a half here, you're probably one of the weakest Christians I've ever seen. Christianity is a 365, 24/7 relationship with God. When you're on vacation, you should be pursuing God. When you're on vacation, you don't say, I won't go to church Sunday because I'm on vacation. Really? I hope Jesus doesn't come back on Sunday that you're on vacation. See, are we growing, or are we just kind of on cruise control? We're just kind of happy where we're at. I don't know about you. I know Job had to be shown where he really was. Where are you this morning? Where are you really in your relationship with God? We're going to have a hymn of decision, invitation. And I know from experience, and having been in ministry a long, long time, there are people in churches who say, oh, we're down to the invitation, get my coat, get my Bible closed up, get ready to go because we're almost done. No, we're just starting. Well, I've been a Christian for years, Danny. Great. Where are you in your relationship with the Lord? Now, this is not just an invitation to come to be baptized. This is a time for you, the invitation from God, to be